All right, it's 8:30. We'll call the meeting to order. First on the agenda, do we have public comments? Do we have any public comments? Do we have any public comments?
Yeah, I do. I'm so happy that Kansas City won.
And the 49ers.
Oh, that's right.
That's right. So pretty. Thank you. All right, moving on. No public comments. We have minutes from January 22nd and 25th. We'll second that. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Good morning, Dwayne, Meeker County Engineer.
Good morning, Supervisors. I don't think I told you last week our new dump truck got delivered. So the crew spent last week getting the radio and the final interior county specific stuff that we do installed, and today's its virgin trip out spreading salt and sand with the mornings, a little bit of frost, road slippery. Now that we have that one, we're going to keep the tandem that it's replacing as a spare, but that does leave us with a single axle that we really don't utilize. And I know at some point in the past, Sean had indicated some interest in getting a diesel, if we had a diesel ever available. So we're going to approach him and see if that's something conservation could use, and then figure out, I don't know how that would work as what he has in his budget for equipment, but I think we could probably work something out favorable to him.
That'd be good.
And get the value of it, but also be reasonable. Right,
Yeah, I'm
fit
sure
his
the
budget.
Conservation Board would appreciate that.
Then other than that, Melissa is working on the snowplow numbers again. We got them to Brett. The form that he gave us originally was not the right one that we needed, so now we can just get reimbursed, the way I understand it, for our worst 48-hour period during that snow event. So we're recompiling them. We'll have those to him later today. And then he'll work his magic and we'll find out what happened. I have to thank him for exploring this opportunity, availability of state funds to help reimburse the county for what's going to end up being a pretty major cost. I think,
What are we up to cost wise? I know
I think 200 grand.
200.
But I'll have to see how that actually falls in with our budget,
Sure.
because our salt and snow, the time is not actually charged into that account, the way I understand the way our accounting works. So I'll be a lot smarter this time next month on how the budget looks.
Next month.
Well, and is this over and above the regularly scheduled hours?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, so yeah.
Cause you guys
Yeah.
are going 5 to 5 every
Yeah,
day
we
for a
have
while.
8 days.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Straight with 12s, I believe. The nice thing is most of our guys take comp time,
Right,
so it doesn't affect our budget, it just affects our productivity during the summer.
right.
For some reason, the crews like to take time off in the summer as opposed to this time of year.
Right.
Let's see, other than that, we're replacing some of the mailboxes that we clipped while we were plowing. I think I spoke with you guys about that as well. Dean just signed our final pay app for the 146th bridge from a couple of years ago that we finally made it through audit, so we'll close that out. That's the kind of thing that makes the DOT happy. And I don't know if you guys were aware of it, but Dowd Stone purchased Link's Fairfield Quarry,
Oh, no.
so
When did that happen?
a week or so ago.
That's
I assume that means. I guess I don't know what that means. We'll find out how that, it sounds like they're going to try and keep that quarry staffed.
I have a question. Obviously, I don't want to say this, because I don't want to, I'm not trying to be argumentative or disrespectful, but you know, always been required by the DOT when we're using farm to market money and stuff to take the lowest bid. Now that it's all one company, how do we do that?
We still have Canterra down in Selma as a source,
Okay.
so that is somewhat of a check on their pricing. And when we are placing rock in the southwest part of the county, whenever we can justify it, I try to have the guys go there. I received a little pushback from Dowd Stone on that, because it costs us a little bit more to travel. That actually, I don't know, it's an extra 5 miles, and the price dollars wise is the same, but in my view, giving them business to keep them as a viable entity concern in that area provides a check on the pricing that we get from Dowd.
How does the quality of the rock
So
compare?
it's,
Same.
unfortunately, we don't have any real good sources of hard stone in southeast Iowa. So on the quality end of it, it's 6 from one, half dozen of the other. I don't know if there's a big difference.
So, to follow up on that, if we were to see, and I'm not saying that there will be, I'm just asking, if we were to see a big jump, figuratively speaking, in the cost per ton or something of this nature, can we reach out? I mean, obviously, they're a private company, and they don't have competition. Does the DOT get involved in this?
Oh, good gosh, that would be probably more an issue with the Secretary of, do we have a Secretary of Commerce in the state?
Not that I'm aware of.
Um, So I don't know who would be, you know, the watchdog for monopolistic behavior. I think, you know, having been affiliated with the Manat Company for best part of 20 years, they're very cognizant of the fact that in a lot of their markets, they are the only players. So they do try to keep things at a, you know, a reasonable markup. Since I've been out of high school, the construction industry has had huge consolidation. And even though in our part of the world, it looks like Manats are a really big fish, in the greater scheme of things, in the regional construction world, they're a fairly small player. You know, so they need to have a certain amount of control over territories, and that's kind of the way the material supply and construction aggregate and ready mix and asphalt world is. You know, you look up, Iowa has maybe 6 asphalt producers in the whole state. Wisconsin has 2. And I think Missouri has maybe 3. So that's just kind of the nature of the beast. And that's why I think it's a good thing to buy rock from Canterra when we can. Because I know we would pay a little bit more of a premium. I wouldn't say we'd be getting gouged, but I'd say we'd pay more of a premium if they weren't there.
Right.
So it's worth it for us to pay that extra $3 for hauling from them every now and again, if we can keep them active. Unless you guys tell me not to.
No,
That
I was
is,
just
that
wondering
is,
about,
but that's my logic on it.
I just was wondering whether or not, there was any possibility of reaching out to Van Buren County.
Oh, Van Buren County and Henry County, they both have work, do they?
I've talked to the county, it's been probably 3 or 4 years and they weren't interested then, but you can certainly reach out.
The other issue is, with the price of fuel and trucking, you don't have to go very far to really run up your cost, and that's, that's pretty much, you can tell, okay, the price of rock at this quarry here is 50 cents less than what it's gonna cost you to truck from over here to get, they have a pretty good idea
Yeah.
of what everybody's charging. They don't collude, but everybody has pretty much the same cost, so, you draw your circle, okay. Here's where the haul rate balances out between the quarries, and that's kind of how they do their pricing.
Dwayne, do you see yourself having to purchase a lot more rock because of what's been scraped off the roads is probably now in the ditch?
Not a lot more.
Okay, I just wondered, going down the roads, it's just slushy as heck, those gravel roads.
Yeah.
Or it used to be gravel.
There's still gravel there. It's just, there is a lot of moisture.
Yeah, oh yeah.
They just take it from Joe's Road and transfer it to other roads.
Right, yeah.
Mine's not for sale.
We did have some damage on Juniper right at the Libertyville Road intersection with the way the geometry of that road is. When they're cleaning the intersection, they put more down pressure on their blades and peeled up some of the chips. But Thomas and I went and drove the chip seals last Thursday, and that was the only serious damage we saw out of them, so I was really happy. That was my big concern with planning, being so late in the season with that project, that we end up losing a lot more aggregate.
I'll bring this up with you because you got connections, I'm sure, that I don't have, and it's not county. But it'd be over by Dewberry, west on the bypass at the bridge.
Mhm.
On both sides of the bridge, there are gaping holes there that, especially at night, if a person's driving through there and don't see them, if you could throw you somewhere. It's right.
That's on 34.
Yeah. On the eastbound lanes.
On the pavement,
Yeah. Really bad.
Is it a drop or?
Holes.
Potholes.
Yeah.
Actually, let's talk to
I
that.
come back from a tumble yesterday and of course I could see them,
sure.
but avoiding them was another challenge all in and of itself. It's worse on the east side of the bridge than on the west side of the bridge, but it's both locations.
Well, plus after dark.
Yeah.
I'll make a phone call.
Thank you.
And I think that's all I have, folks.
That's fine. All right, hey Brian, meet with ambulance director.
Yes, ma'am.
Here, I'll give you the pre-warm seat.
Hi, appreciate it. Thank you. Hi, good morning.
Morning.
As of today, for the month of January, we're at 153. I figured we're gonna top that with days left. That's more calls than we did so far, since we started. October was our busiest month at 153. We've done 585 calls for the year, 75 transports to the hospital. According to the company dashboard, we got a total of $5,566 coming in.
On what?
I'm sorry?
On what? Just in
On-
general?
Yeah, in general,
That was
just-
5,000 what?
$5,566.
How much of that has come already, or is that in addition to what's come?
That's gonna be an addition in our, that's pending to post in our account.
Okay.
Should be today. Currently in the account, we got $3,301.
This one.
Would you repeat that amount?
3,301. You are aware that Medicare was approved
Mhm.
last week.
Officially, you see the
Officially.
documentation, thank you.
That's correct. And the billing company, they were sending me the electronic transfer of that and the license as well. Medicaid approval is pending. We should have that in the next couple of weeks for sure. That was based on Medicare's final approval. Blue Cross Blue Shield, last time I heard, the billing company was working on that. And that's a total of about $56,000 from them. And it's gonna be sent in bulk and they pay within 30 days or less for sure.
All of these entities, retroactive.
That's correct, yes. Medicaid, includes the Amerigroup, Iowa Total Care, and Iowa Medicaid. That is retroactive up to 1 year. And I verified that. I called them all individually. So we're well within that year. So I called them and they said that they retroactive back to again year, and that's about $26,000.
So I want to stop here for a second. You said Amerigroup, Iowa Total Care,
And then Iowa Medicaid.
there's
Correct.
another one called Molina.
Yes, Molina is, and I called them.
Okay.
And I apologize to let that.
No, no,
slip out.
I just,
When you say 25,000, is that billed charges or actual charges will collect?
That's actual charges we will collect. Medicaid makes up about 1% of our total call volume.
Right,
So, and of course, with the GEMT, you gotta have a minimum at least 10% total. So it's really not worth it for us to apply for the GEMT at 1%, because we'll end up paying
right.
for them. Again, February 1st is our hospital contract meeting that I invited you to.
Mhm.
So we're gonna be getting that together and working with Chauncey to get some stuff written up probably today or tomorrow at the latest. February 6th, I got an Apex dinner at 6 p.m. at the side of our house, and they just kind of want to know what we plan on doing with the $5,000 that they had given us for the stair share.
Yeah, I think they're having something that's for a lot of folks.
That's correct, yeah. Jared invited me, asked me to be out there and kind of give a little spiel about how we use their stuff and their contributions to Jefferson County. So I'll be there for that.
we take it to the casino and try to double it.
I'm sorry.
Hmm.
January 31st is I got a billing company meeting that they're on Zoom right now. Cheyenne's gonna be the new team lead. And our weekly meetings will continue, and that's at 2:30 on January 31st. As far as the new ambulance goes, that's kind of been up in the air. I texted him, I called him. And he keeps pushing things back, so I know that Lee has reached out to him as well. So-
Actually, he reached out to me. but-
Okay, well,
Do you think we'll get it next year?
God willing, that would be nice. Went from October to November to the end of January
That's
to
correct.
whenever. And
So
so,
what did he tell you?
Well, he was, first off, he was a little, concerned, that Brian was constantly asking about where's our ambulance? So I informed him that's because we told Brian to constantly ask where is our ambulance? And so Kevin and I had a conversation, probably about a half hour, and he said, listen, he said, I've got a lot of money tied up in this, and he says, I want paid, but he said, things are, things happen. I said, I get that, and I understand that. But I said, you told us that if we went with the push button instead of the touch screen, that you could do all of it then in-house.
that's correct.
And I said, so here we are, now we're at the end of January, and you're telling me that it's probably gonna be near the end of February. And he said, well,
March,
but,
April.
Right,
yeah, he said, I really,
2025.
he says, right now, the company that puts on the liquid suspension, he says that his guys won't do it, so. And I said, look, I said, I understand. I said, but and I know you can't give a definitive date, but don't blame him. Because we keep telling him we want to know what is the circumstances surrounding the ambulance. So I told him, I said, so moving forward, you keep me apprised and then I won't say him on you.
Do you think that'll help?
I don't know. See.
All right, well, thank you for,
So, yes, ma'am. And, I guess.
Maybe I should talk to him, maybe he needs to sleep on this place.
So.
And who would that be?
It won't be me.
So things are starting to roll in, I know, a little bit more now, so, and I guess we'll get more clarification from the building company on that next, so. As far as that goes, everything's going smoothly, so.
well, it's a big accomplishment to get that Medicare funding.
Absolutely, absolutely, so, and they'll submit everything in bulk,
Okay. Yeah.
so we'll get paid.
Yeah, I'm not gonna believe it until I see the money in the account.
Right.
Agreed. So we can wish in one hand and spit in the other and see what one helps
Sure.
out. Right.
All right, are we ready to move on to meet with EMS?
We are.
Okay, billing company, you're on Zoom. Morning, I see Cheyenne. Who else do we have?
We have Megan Bernero. She is my director. She's the customer success director. And we also have Sean Storm. He's the director over our payer relations team. So I want to go ahead and give them a moment to introduce themselves. Just to say hi.
Yeah, hi all, Megan Bernero, like Cheyenne said, Director of Customer Success. Just in the last week or so, we moved Cheyenne over to be the Customer Success Executive over your account. Think you'll see a lot of success moving forward with her. And she's very familiar with these payers and requirements, so good time to get her involved and make sure we're on top of these things moving forward.
And I'm Sean Storm, Revenue Cycle Management Director. I oversee the payer relations team as was stated by Cheyenne. I have quite a bit of experience in the payer relation world, getting these companies to actually move things forward and such. And this particular account is of major importance to us. We are focusing on it several times daily to get, we're trying to be the squeaky wheel to get these approvals moving through in the timely fashion that they should be going forward.
Yeah, so what has happened, and just give us a brief update from when we've been with you.
Sure. So Medicare made a change in the documentation that they require for approvals, but did not send out a notification the way they normally do, saying a change is coming, be prepared, that type of thing. It has affected several of our applications, and we've gotten them all moving forward at that point. And without Medicare, you have trouble moving forward with other payer sources. That aspect has now been cleared up, taken care of, as was stated, Medicare has been approved. Now we're getting the EDI section of it done so we can get those payments sent, or the claims sent over and the payments out to you as soon as possible. Usually once claims are submitted, it takes less than 21 days for payment to be received.
Can you tell me, refresh my memory, because we had a Zoom with somebody before we signed the contract. Was credentialing part of that on your end?
Both Sean and I are new to overseeing this account, so I'm not sure who the previous meeting was with, but we can follow up on that.
Well, it was, I'm gonna, for lack of a better way of putting it, I guess would be your sales team. It was, everybody was online and on Zoom, excuse me, and extolling the virtues of your company and what all services we would receive in return for, shall we say, entering into a contractual agreement. And one of those things that was part of that process, as Dee indicated, was credentialing. And one of the reasons, not all of the reasons, but one of the reasons we went to an outside billing source was being a brand new startup and with everything else that our director of operations would have to do, relying on professionals to move that aspect of the startup for us, we felt was beneficial. So yeah, I mean, it was our understanding that part of what we were paying for was to aid and abet the credentialing,
Process.
process.
That's right. And that's correct from my understanding. Again, new to this contract specifically. But yes, that's generally the case, is that credentialing is part of it.
Well, it's our understanding that Brian was given all 200 contracts and the directions how to do that.
No, I signed us up for like 287 different insurance companies. I did that when we were in the basement. That took me several days. I also applied for Medicaid on our own. It took me a couple hours, but that is complete.
Okay, all right. All right. Do you have anything else for him?
No, I don't. Well, actually, out of the $5,566 on the dashboard that we should be receiving, I guess that should post to our account today or tomorrow.
It should, based off of what was posted, that is correct.
Okay.
If it has not already, and I can pull up the dashboard fairly quickly, but if it has not already hit your bank account, then it should be in the pipeline to come to your bank account within the next 48, 72 hours.
Where are we on the Blue Cross Blue Shield implementation?
Currently, we're waiting for portal access to, with Blue Cross Blue Shield of Iowa, which is Wellmark, they require
Right.
to be credentialed. You do not have to be contracted, but you do have to be credentialed with them as a non-PAR provider in order to submit the claims to Blue Cross Blue Shield. We're in the process of that now. We're waiting on portal access. The payer relations representative on your account will be calling by lunchtime today and again by the end of the day for Blue Cross Blue Shield and Medicare EDI, in hopes that we can get that squeaky wheel running and claims getting out the door as quickly as possible.
Do we see that EDI coming sometime today or at least before our Wednesday meeting?
It's going to be hard to say. For Medicare, we're hoping that we can get it pushed through as quickly as possible. We're calling on it multiple times a day, but we're a good 7. I'm going to say that we have to allow them 7 days, but hopefully we can get it pushed through faster. For Medicare specifically, sometimes your MAC, which is WPS, they will process it within 48 hours, but I do want to give them that leeway because it is a federal payer. Sometimes they won't process it as quickly as we want them to. As far as Blue Cross Blue Shield, we're not currently waiting on EDI for that. We are waiting on that portal access. And they stated, whenever I called last week, they stated to allow them 1 week, 1 business week. So I'm going to give them about 5 days to give us that access. Hopefully before our Wednesday meeting, we will have that access and be able to submit a credentialing application with them to be a non-PAR provider.
So explain to me, I confess that I don't tend to understand all of this, but so you entered into all of these agreements with all of these insurance companies, right?
Correct.
And so we're 4 months into the operation and we still aren't credentialed or whatever the word is with Blue Cross Blue Shield. We're waiting to have access to their portal. What have we been doing for the last 4 months?
Go ahead.
Go ahead, Sean. I'm sorry.
No, you're fine. So the process follows that you have to have Medicare first, especially before you commercial insurances. Everything flows from Medicare.
Right, but
Right.
when I talk to Blue Cross Blue Shield, because they're commercial, they don't require Medicare approval or anything.
They don't
Uh,
require Medicare approval, but they do require the application being in process and such. Again, it's a matter of, they say they don't require it, but whenever you go to fill out the credentialing paperwork, one of the very first questions they ask is, what is your Medicare number?
Yes.
Yeah.
And with my past billing experience, that's been the case. Everything hinges on Medicare approval.
Yep.
And we got that, what, Thursday or Friday? So
that
things should
that
start,
was Thursday.
Yeah.
flowing now.
But yeah, and with it not with it being non-par, it's not going to be a it's not going to be the long process of
Right.
credentialing that usually occurs. Because commercial insurances can take up to 90 days once you get the application in, but usually when it's a non-par, it does not take that long.
Okay.
Okay.
Any other questions for them?
No, ma'am, no more questions.
Okay. And we will be continuing to give you updates on a daily basis on that Medicare and Blue Cross Blue Shield. So
I appreciate
Okay,
it.
appreciate that. Thank
yep,
you.
if you fail to receive it, just reach out to me and let me know.
Sure
Okay.
will. I don't have your email. If you could shoot me your email and your contact information, I appreciate it.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right. Number 2 on our agenda, consider departmental reappropriation, and this is resolution whereas it is desired to appropriate additional budget to Department 36 ambulance and service area 1000 public safety and legal services due to expenses related in the operations of the county ambulance. And whereby the service area 1000 within Department Board of Supervisors has, and this is the maximum that we could do, 297,813.15 budget remaining from the allocation for creation of a county ambulance. Therefore, be it resolved by the Board of Supervisors of Jefferson County that the reappropriation of service area 1000 in the amount of $23,938 from the Board of Supervisors budget to the ambulance budget being made.
So moved.
Is there a second? I'll second it for the sake of discussion. Susie?
Yeah, what are you guys doing to not spend as much money now? What are you doing to cut back? So this won't happen again.
We're on the truck about, I think following week, we're on the truck like over 50 something hours. So we're trying to cut down on overtime, spending as well. Overtime being the major.
Yeah, that's one of your major expenses.
Right, major caveat. So we're gonna be on the truck more to help reduce that.
So when you do that, do you both go on the same truck? Just curious.
Well, no, we don't both drive the truck. We have a EMT driver, but one of us, if we have something to do, a meeting or something like that, then one of us will go to that and do paperwork. So one of us is always on the truck. So,
You know, I realize it's a constant battle for you and Judy to figure this out while you're running a new ambulance service, and I appreciate that. But please be careful of money.
No, we are.
And we met last week in our budget planning and we had some discussions on this.
Yes, we did.
Yeah.
Yes, we did. So to alleviate that, we're on the truck a little bit.
Yeah. We appreciate that.
Yeah, thanks for that, Brian, Judy, thank you.
Okay, we have a motion, a second, in discussion, all in favor of this?
Aye.
You opposed? Okay. Okay, gonna move on to Terry, welcome, update from Visit Fairfield.
Thank you.
And Terry gives us an update periodically.
Terry, thanks for coming today.
Yeah.
What you have before you is our annual report from fiscal year 23.
And just gives you an idea of some of the activities that we've been up to in promoting Fairfield and Jefferson County. Our organization, obviously, we focus a lot on Fairfield, but we do include the county as part of our promotion. We obviously have a lot of things out in the county, for example, the John O'Clock Museum and Cedar Valley Winery and different places that are very attractive to visitors. Visitors don't know the boundaries of the county to the city. They want to come into the area and they want to have a good time. So we want to be sure they're aware of all the amenities we have. You'll see some of the things we've done. We use a lot of social media to promote the area. Visuals are obviously really important. So we make sure that that gets out there as much as possible. We also use a short form video process. We work with Travel Iowa on that to get featured on their website as well as in our own media, just to make sure that there's a constant continual awareness of what is in the area. We publish several brochures throughout the year, some focusing, for example, our Christmas in Fairfield, kind of what's happening in the area, the restaurant guide. We recently did a Find a Ride guide, which is one of the local bike riders and I worked on mapping out some rides throughout the county on the gravel roads. And we use an app called Ride with GPS so that people can just scan one of these codes. It opens up the app for them. They can tell where to turn and take some interesting rides. Gravel riding is really popular here and people like to come from Cedar Rapids, Iowa City to ride our gravel because we don't have as many cars on our roads.
And we have a lot of miles of gravel.
Yes, and we have a lot of gravel. So that's become really popular. I was just at the Iowa Bike Expo this weekend in Des Moines and there are a lot of people really interested in coming into the area, not only just doing those gravel rides, but also using our loop trail. We did some nice features in also some travel magazines in the last year or so. We got some nice publicity out of that.
And it looks like we're talking, what, Food and Travel, Midwest Living, Best in the Midwest.
Yep.
Travel magazine, so some big.
Yeah,
brands.
Rova magazine, which is for like RVs and.
I want to go back to the videos. I think this is a important feature, 44,000 impressions, second highest number of downloads in the state. So that's pretty impressive.
Yeah, we were quite aggressive during that particular period of time, and I was really happy to see we placed second throughout the state. As you will know, we also do a visitor's guide every year. Our Vibe guide that we're actually in the process of redoing that and getting all the articles written and that sort of thing. We did have some special promotions. We have some digital apps, digital contests, so to speak, of people can go and they visit different shops or restaurants or locations and they can get a stamp and earn some prizes. So we had some stuff like that. And we are also going to be featured in the Soul of Iowa promotions. I don't know if you're familiar with that throughout the state travel tourism office. They bring video crews in and drones to do different footage in different areas. And they promote different areas. So we're getting promoted and they chose to promote a lot of our restaurants. So they did some drone footage flying through restaurants, people are eating and different things. So that's actually, I'm getting a preview of that next week. So that'll be launching this spring. We always do a couple events every year, the Restaurant Week and our Shop and Be Merry. We also work with a couple of events like the Women's Professional Billiard Association event and also the Midwest Veg Fest, which you remember was in their first year last year and they have rescheduled again for this year. So we're excited for that. I think one of my favorite things that we did during this fiscal year was our travel writer fam tours. And we brought in several groups of travel writers who toured the area, went to different locations, and then subsequently wrote their own blogs on social media. One individual is fascinated with Mazda and Barnes, and she wrote several articles. She is from Illinois, and she was published in a local newspaper as well as a farm magazine. So she was able to get Mazda and Barnes featured in some of these different publications.
Which farm magazine is she in, do you know?
I don't know, but I can find out for you.
Yes.
Yeah. So that was a really fun thing. It's really gives us a lot of sort of social proof that people actually come here and what they love to do. And
Hey, Terry, I have a question. So the reg by route has been announced.
yes,
Ottumwa, Mount Pleasant. Are
Yes.
we gonna get them through here?
I'm sure some people will trickle through. When I was at the Bike Expo, several people stopped and said, okay, so we know you're on the route. You're here because we know you're on the route. And I'm like, sure, maybe.
You're close to the route.
Yes, we're very close and people were actually really disappointed we weren't on the route. But this year we were not on the route because we were having trouble finding interest, and a lot of the committees that worked on the last RAGBRAI were still kind of burned out from that and feeling that they really couldn't put the effort forward. It takes a lot of resources,
Sure.
not just financially, but it takes a lot of people resources. And
How close are they coming to Fairfield?
I don't know the exact
Okay.
route.
Have you been contacted from county roads?
I can either comment or.
Would you please comment?
Yeah.
Oh, you can't.
I can't.
I seen the route yesterday, Tumwa, Mount Pleasant.
But what I can say is you're better off being a route town than a overnight stopover.
Yeah, I think so. I agree.
Yeah.
Having been on RAGBRAI a couple of times,
You
there is a
have ridden
lot
on Rag-
more, there is a lot more money spent in the towns along the way than the town at the
Yeah.
end of the line. Because at the end of the day,
See me throw
everybody's
Poland.
pretty well wiped out, wants a shower, a warm meal, and go to bed. You know? When RAGBRAI came to Cedar Rapids, the city spent millions of dollars on a big event and wanted to bus everybody downtown so they could stand in a hot parking lot and listen to some retro band. Nobody wants to go after they've been biking all day, and a large number of them have been drinking all day. They're pretty well wiped out. If you're the second to last stop, your bars and restaurants are gonna make you killing. If you're the last stop,
I didn't mean to digress. But it-
No, I know, last time they came through, I was still in the retail world and it was more quiet than they thought, because by the last day, there was stuff in the food supplies.
Yeah. There's definitely differences on which day they stop and all those kind of
Yeah.
things, but I have a feeling we will see some trickle down effect, just because people kept asking me like, we really want to come to Fairfield if you're gonna be on the route, aren't you? So we'll see how that goes.
That's good.
I'm not gonna outline every little bits and piece here because you can certainly read that. When we get into some of the economic impact, visitor spending in Jefferson County is almost $20 million in a year. And that's just direct visitor spending. That's not a trickle down effect from the employees that work hospitality, that sort of thing. So it's a really pretty big industry in the area. I've given you some stats on what we look for and what we sort of, how we gather data. We have several ways that we're gathering data to find out the number of people who come here. Some of our resources measure the number of visitors who come to town and spend at least 2 hours. That's considered a visitor to us. They must be from 50 miles away and spend 2 hours in the area. And then, of course, we're always looking for where are they going, what are they doing, and where are they spending their money? So, and you'll see on the finance page, you'll see how we allocate our resources. We try as much as possible to pump money into marketing. That is what we consider to be probably our number one thing that we do, is putting that awareness out into the world, what Fairfield has to offer, what Jefferson County has to offer. And then we do have some special projects that we worked on that year. And one of those was doing a hotel study, which I'm happy to say is moving along, and we hope that there'll be something coming up.
When there is something you can say about that, will you come back and tell us?
Sure.
Mhm.
Yep. I've also put out just some sort of our highlights, but on your last page, I specifically went into our relationship in terms of the county. As I said, we don't feel that there's a boundary between city and county from a visitor's perspective. In fact, we don't see that there's a boundary between our county and other counties around us, because if we think of ourselves as an island, we're going to isolate and we're not going to gain traction that we need to gain. And that's one of the reasons that I spearheaded a program this year. We are going to start a new website and a new collaboration with the communities around us. There will be a new website out called Do More on 34. This is a collaboration with all the communities that lie along Highway 34, where we'll be able to highlight the best places to get a pork tenderloin or the best outdoor hike area or that sort of thing. So every town along the highway will be able to have a feature and highlight what they have going on. So I'm excited for that to happen, and probably sometime late spring that'll be launched. Obviously, one of the other things that we're really into is cultural preservation, historical preservation. So we work closely with Marsden Barnes, with Carnegie Museum, and all the other features that we have in the area to really make sure that things are happening and wonderful. And on the back, I did put some visitor data that we have for Jefferson County in general. We track visitor traffic for Fairfield, but also for Jefferson County. And it tells us how many overnights we have. The interesting thing that we're noticing on an annual basis is that our trips, what we consider our adult trips, so they over 21 and they're staying at least 2 hours, those are increasing, but our overnight stays are decreasing. And that is happening across the state, but we know particularly we're getting hit because of the hotel issue. People are not staying here. They can't find rooms or that sort of thing. I also listed some of the things throughout the county that we're really big on promoting. And I'm excited this year because last year I discovered the peony farm, and we're actually going to have a bunch of travel writers coming to write about the peony farm this year. So that's going to be great. We also this year invested in some new research data collection process, and that will be, we can actually start looking at traffic, where people are coming from, what roads they're taking to get to that particular attraction, that sort of thing. What's the busiest time of year? And I just ran a couple reports for you. This one is for the Heartland Co-op, and this one is for Marsden Barnes. So you can just glance through that, pass it around. And it'll show us things like what times of year they're getting the most traffic. It'll also show us what roads they take to get to that particular location. It will show us what time of day they're getting a lot of traffic. This is really valuable for us in terms of marketing, in terms of knowing how to prepare a location. But also we'll be making some of these reports available to some of the businesses in town as well as some of the attractions. And we will use it also for our marketing efforts to see, all right, there's so many people from Cedar Rapids are coming into this area. We can put some more marketing efforts into Cedar Rapids to create that greater attraction. So,
And I know we've talked about this, but tell us how they get that data, because I think that's fascinating.
so the data is mostly from mobile pings. So pinging cell phones. It's not something where cell phones are identifiable, but basically if anything's being triggered off of the cell phone tower, it's being pinged, and then they can collect that data from there.
Huh, interesting.
Is that a correlate with your roads?
Yeah.
Heartland
Now I
traffic.
think about that. Oh, my sidebar, my wife used to get so mad at me, I'd mow them off, because they produce ants. So the thing I thought when you said peony farm was an ant farm.
Ant farm. We could bring that
Oh
up.
my goodness.
Whenever you said peony farm, I thought like the sandwich, the panini.
Okay,
Can I see that? Please,
this is,
the other.
there's only two.
Yeah, you need it, right?
That's right. Happy to answer any questions, and also definitely appreciate the investment that you guys make to help us keep Fairfield and Jefferson County like in people's thoughts and prayers.
Well, I hope it's a good year, Terry. After we all have went through the impending doom, maybe we'll all appreciate the outdoors a little more.
We do hope so. We do.
You've
hope
done a
so.
great job with those things.
Great, thank you. Thanks so much.
All right, any questions? All right, thank you, Terry.
Thanks.
So just real quick before we move on, and I know you know this, but, the Jefferson County Park
Thank you.
will expanding.
Yes.
And from what I understand, that those will be full hookups and everything, so that'll be,
That's gonna be a great addition.
yeah.
A lot of people, especially when I was talking to the bike riders, a lot of people were asking, where's the camping? Where can we? Because a lot of people will prefer that. And that is also calculated. Anybody that spends the night in campgrounds will be counted in our overnight stays.
Right.
So overnight stays count anybody who stays anywhere, even if they stay at grandma's house, right? So it doesn't have to be a hotel stay. So we know that sometimes friends and family can be the largest driver of why people come into the area. So oftentimes they are staying with friends or family, not necessarily in a hotel.
Okay, thank you.
Thanks.
Okay, the next agenda item is not gonna happen today because Abby and I had an email this morning that John Kenny had something come up and he's not available, so we're gonna move on to discuss and consider inclement weather policy. So any new on this?
Well, I explain to me what it is we're considering. I mean, we can't do anything about inclement weather.
I can see it both ways, so
Well, no, I mean, if I could have stopped the 2 foot of snow, trust me, I would have. But I couldn't. So what is it that we're
And,
considering?
well, I think you made a good point last week that it could easily get out of hand. So if we do anything, my thought is just do something for that day only, and this is a one-time deal. And give people a choice. They could use sick time, vacation, or comp time.
But I think that it should be a single point of determination. In other words, I think it's the board of supervisors that should make the
Exactly.
determination.
Exactly. This is a one-time, like, in a perfect world going forward, if this were to happen again.
And that doesn't mean, don't misunderstand, that doesn't mean that if Abby determines it's not safe to come in, I don't want Abby coming in.
Right,
All right, that goes without saying, but as far as whether or not we close the courthouse, that's a different concept or
right.
consideration.
Well, and I think our role, and I talked to Chauncey about this, he said, if we want to do anything, we can do this retro. So we would not have to do this as a blanket policy for forever type of thing. This is like a one-time, what date was it? January, was it the 12th? Incident only. So,
So, all right.
and the other part of that, if somebody was already scheduled off, like if their department doesn't work, or if they're, had vacation or they were sick, I mean, that doesn't count. It's just the people that were scheduled. But I don't know what it is. It was just proposed to us to do something, so it's up to this board to decide
Well,
that. Otherwise, it just goes with
Just so
typical
I make
policy.
sure that I'm understanding, what we're saying here is that if they took it off, that they can use vacation time
Or sick.
or sick or comp time,
I think they were wanting us to give them a free day, which is an option. It's,
but they don't have to use it, but I mean, I look at it in this context. Are we usually, and I just, in the private world, okay, so when Hill Phoenix closed their doors and sent their workers home, they didn't get paid
right.
unless they took vacation time or sick time or whatever. And that option is up to the individual. I just want to make sure that we're very, very clear that I don't expect Abby to come in from where she lives when there's 2 feet of snow on the ground.
Oh, I expected to.
Oh, well, okay. Well,
I almost tried it that day, to be honest.
Yeah.
I would not be surprised at that notion, but So what we're saying is that the Board of Supervisors will determine whether or not the courthouse is closed on a given day because of inclement weather, but not necessarily, but not saying that you're required to be here. But if you don't come in, you can use comp time, sick time, or vacation pay.
And what was proposed when I was called was that we would just pay him a day and they wouldn't have to take time. So that's the other option.
And I disagree with that. It's in the private world, doesn't do that. You can't do that.
I can say since I was asked the question, I have reached out to various, I call them John Q. Publics, and they say no.
Yeah.
So I know it's a
And
delicate
that's,
balance.
you know, I mean, people either they make it into work or they can't make it into work, and I understand that. I'm not advocating that they put themselves in jeopardy, but
Okay,
So Lee, are you saying that everybody has a right to do what they feel is the best for themselves?
right. And if they
And
take
it's-
the day, if we close the courthouse, if the Board of Supervisors says, somebody has to make the determination, if you've, as the chair, if you determine and you say, well, okay, we've got 30 feet of snow out here, it's not reasonable to have the courthouse open. Okay, fine. But then those workers, they can take vacation time, sick time, or comp time.
Mhm.
If a person, because of their circumstances and where they live,
Mhm.
don't feel that it's safe to come in. In
Right,
other words, I
right.
can get here because I live in town, but,
Right.
all right, they can use vacation time, comp time.
I mean,
whatever.
I know we've got one department head that wants to say something. Is that okay if we
Yeah,
let him do
yeah,
that?
yeah,
Okay,
yeah,
Mark,
sure.
what did Jim do?
Morning, guys. The main reason why this got brought up was because if you look at the manual or the way it's supposed to be is that you three make that decision. However, with you three not collectively being in the building all the time, it falls on the department heads to make that determination. The department heads determined at this last time when we knew this storm was coming in, we determined that it was not safe for anyone to come into the building. Now that includes customers. So by closing the building, not only are we trying to look out for the safety of our employees, but we're also trying to deter customers from trying to brave the weather to come in thinking that they need to be in for something. The argument that we have, or the question that we have is, one, what can be put in place for the supervisors to make that determination, or what do we need to do protocol wise to let you guys make that decision instead of us collectively? Part two is, if we do not give our employees the option, to Lee's point, if we say do not come in, we are not opening, don't leave your house, as opposed to you live outside of town, if you can brave it, go nuts. If not, stay home and use your paid time off. Do we then allow, or do we give them that day because we did not give them an option?
Well, and I think typically, I know this was a storm, but typically the elected officials decide what their departments do, and that's always been past practice.
And we
And-
have before, but in this situation, or in the situation that I think you guys are needing to discuss, is that should fall to you guys. You guys are the ones that should determine whether or not the building is going to be closed. And then if you guys determine that the building's going to be open, and my department, I say, well, I'm going to shut down because people don't need to be coming in here and I need my people safe, so stay home. At that point, then we're talking about a different story where you guys decided business as usual. I decided not. So then, yeah, your PTO should be used. But if you guys decide for the safety and the well-being of everybody, we are not going to be open and we're not going to give you that option, should we force the employees to use paid time off?
Mhm.
And just like Susie, I can see both sides of this argument. I think we just need something that's more on paper, so we all have something to follow.
Well, I know we're having a department head on, so maybe we can really try to get
I
something.
won't be able to make that. I've
Okay.
got meetings, but,
Okay.
Mhm.
You know, this is like a once in a, by what I found in my basement, every 20-year experience, hopefully.
The last time we did it was in 2019 when the
something-
wind chill was going to be 50 below. And virtually every other courthouse in the state shut down. We were one of the last ones to make that determination. And again, that was determined by the department heads.
Right.
How would that affect your department?
You still have to plow snow?
I
Yeah.
know. So I sit here and I think, these guys are out plowing snow.
Right.
While we
Right.
stay home.
Right. But
You're never gonna find the right answer.
Exactly. And the other part of the equation is we do have a lot of employees that live out of the county and they choose to work here.
Yeah.
And I live in the country and I choose to drive or not drive,
right.
but
And I think that I have no problem with an employee making that determination as far as what's proper for their circumstance. All I'm simply saying is, and maybe to coin a phrase from Pat, maybe less is more.
Yeah.
If you don't, elected officials can determine in their own department. Now, sometimes the public wonders why one is open and the other isn't, and I get that. All I'm simply saying is that from my perspective, that an employee makes the determination, or even if the department head makes a determination, they have the option of taking paid time off.
and in this
They always
instance,
do.
because typically it would be vacation, but I would like to, maybe our compromise is in this instance, we say you could use sick time instead of vacation.
One thing I would want you to consider in that regard is that we don't budget for sick time, but we budget for vacation.
But I wouldn't want somebody to miss out on their like week-long vacation to Colorado because of the snowstorm.
No, I get it. All I'm doing is just reminding the board that we don't budget for sick time. We budget for vacation. Sick time it's an abstract.
But again, we're talking one, and then
Right.
and then the other piece is, should we require if somebody has comp time? I know not everybody does. Should they be required to use that first? 'Cause some places I've worked, that's like a thing.
Well, there again, I think if you're giving an employee the choice to use vacation time or not use vacation time, or if you're gonna allow them to use sick time, then they can save their comp time for, that's the employee has these options, 1, 2, and 3. And then the employee can decide what option he or she wants.
Mhm.
What I'm saying is that I don't know if you need a policy in place or if you're gonna leave it up to the elected officials. I can look at kind of like what Mark said, it's kind of, it can go either way. The public's perception, if they're coming in here and the department is closed because a department had determined that was what was best, not arguing pro or the con of that, then the public's going to see it differently because this one's open and this one's closed and this one's open and this one's closed. All I'm simply saying is that if you want to have a policy, I think it needs to be a single entity. I think that's what I'm hearing Mark say, that, if the chair makes that determination, but I still say that the employee decides what form of payment, if any, that they want to receive.
Yeah, Lee, to me, it's more about the safety of the person.
Right.
Coming and going. Abby, she made it to work. I know she had a little bit better roads because she was on paved roads, but you turn off the paved roads, it's a mess.
Right.
So we need to be concerned with the safety and however we figure this out.
Yeah, well, in her case, her husband,
Only one of the days. I got myself here the other day.
no, there's one time,
Pay no attention to him.
there's one time he got stuck, right?
Chris?
Yeah,
Yeah.
The health department's had a policy for years for inclement weather, because when we were Medicare certified, we had to have a policy because the DIA surveyors asked what our policy was for our home care patients. So we had to have a policy. So, and the Board of Health signs off on it. And it's my decision as the administrator for inclement weather, whatever the definition of inclement weather may be. And they have to use paid time off or comp time if they have it. We don't have official comp time, but say somebody worked 10 hours one day and they have to use a form of paid time off. It's just a simple paragraph
Yeah.
stating as such, and I can probably count on one hand the times that we've had it, and we were always Medicare certified up until about 5 years ago. We still have that policy, and we did use it the other day. But I didn't make that call till
And that's,
that morning.
that's where I'm at. It's
Yeah,
some
And that's
form of paid
hard,
time
it's
off.
hard, because half my staff was out in the county, but you know, then the other person was sick, so then I was there, so, but the public, to Lee's point, they don't know where your employees live, I mean, you could live 2 blocks away or 20 miles away, so it is variable on where your people live, and you want them to be safe, and we don't wanna cause problems for Dwayne, we don't wanna be stuck in a snowbank, we don't wanna cause a wreck, so.
We want you to come to work.
I guess
guys.
where I'm landing is that to me, a compromise is, this is a one case only thing. This is like an unusual storm. You know, a one-time decision. This is not like a forever, ever. It's like if we say, take some form of paid time off if you want to. Or a day
Yeah,
that
no,
way.
I'm okay if they take a form of paid time off. I don't think that's an issue.
I think your handbook says something to that effect.
I'd have to.
Already.
The handbook does. The argument's more along the lines of the supervisor's not making that determination, the department head's making it as to whether or not the
Right.
building is closed. So what protocol do we as department heads need to have you guys make that determination? You know, Chris is in a different building. If she decides to shut down, she's shutting down her building, not just her department. If I decide to shut down, I'm shutting down my department, not the building.
Well, I think in this case, pretty much the elected officials and department heads in the building got together for the most part.
Which we did, but is that the right way to go? Should it be your determination whether the building should be open or closed?
Abby?
I guess I was under the understanding that the supervisors are not the elected official bosses.
True, but if they close the building, there isn't a whole lot we can do.
But then if Scott or you or Kelly say, I don't care what the supervisors say, I'm gonna be there as an elected official, they can't tell you. You
Okay.
can't come in. I'm not trying to argue, just.
No. We need that clarification.
What does the court system do for inclement weather, Elizabeth? I'm just
It's
asking
my
that.
understanding they were here.
They were here.
guys were
yeah.
We were here, we were working from home because we have that ability to do it. Not all departments have that ability though.
No, I remember
Yeah.
Chauncey saying the court system was gonna need to be here Friday.
Yeah, so there's that issue also.
Right, I think we leave it like it is then, let the department
Leave it
heads
up, yeah.
decide.
If they're not here, they take some form
And
of
if
paid
they're,
time off.
yeah, do we need a motion on that or no?
I
That's
guess
how it's
I-
been.
I will just note that in the employee handbook, I think it says specifically, like, it's a personal choice, like if an employee feels like it's not safe to travel, then they have to
Right.
take paid time off and inclement weather. The
Okay.
question now is, if the courthouse is closed, who makes that determination? And then I guess that the question is answered as to what employees have to do. If the courthouse is closed due to inclement weather, they have to take paid time off, is what I'm hearing. Or elect not to take paid time off, even though they technically could come into work because the courthouse is closed. And then who's gonna make that determination?
Yeah. Are you looking it up, Lee?
Yeah. I,
What in the world? Well, court's in session, can the courthouse be closed?
Exactly, that was my thought. I'm
That's
like,
why I
how
asked
can we
that
close the
question,
building
sorry.
if court's here? So I think
I mean,
based on all this
it's closed.
discussion,
It's closed, I guess, for the other departments, but yeah, we had.
each department head or elected official should decide for their department like it's always been.
I mean, in
Because
the,
engineers can't, your office, I mean, in this instance, you guys couldn't close.
Oh, the office closed, but the department's
Yeah.
still there.
The sheriffs, they need to be out, the deputies.
And I'm like you, Elizabeth, I can work from home if I have a
And the
computer, I do that
ambulance.
a lot. you know,
But not everyone has that
no,
ability.
they don't.
The only thing I can't do from home is draft. You know, unless I'm working on a set of plans, I can write grants or
Mhm.
work through bid items and preliminary design any place I want to, as long as I've got internet.
Do you want us to take a couple minute break or give you a little bit here, Lee?
Yeah, why don't we take a couple minute break?
We're just gonna take a couple minute break till he looks up what he's looking for.
Wanna talk about that?
Meanwhile, I have some Phil,
Man,
this is
what?
information. During the storm, I went to my basement
So,
and oh, my mother saved things. So here we have,
And it's before.
which one was this? These are the courthouse birthdays.
Are you in, Jim?
I'm gonna open the door, if it's quiet out, I'm gonna leave it open.
Oh, yeah. it's
Thank
on.
you. My God, it's hot here.
An article from the courthouse from 1991, the 100th year celebration. So I'm gonna give these to Abby so that maybe we can keep these somewhere
Oh, Andy.
safe. And anybody want to look at these articles? Apparently Governor Branstad came down and a lot of elected officials, all sorts of stories about the courthouse.
Hi,
And then there was also an
Can I-
article about 2010, the renovations.
Yeah.
So if we have it.
Okay, no big deal. I was just writing a list of them. All right, see you tomorrow. Bye.
So thank goodness for the door and that thing.
Oh, that helps.
I thought it was just me. Oh my God, it's hot here.
Think about me.
Yeah, 45 more minutes and you've been done.
Right, yeah.
I guess I'll
no.
run downstairs at least.
I mean, that's what I guess I
Oh.
was assuming, just based on the.
I still can't believe the Lions got spanked as bad as they did.
So, you know,
My
when
husband's
it
from
was
Michigan, so he
previously
wanted the Lions to win.
Did he?
subdivided.
It
It'd
states,
be probably helpful
in
to
the
have
event
as
of
much
inclement
information as
weather,
possible
employees
before I
who
talk to
choose
him,
not to
so that
report
I-
to work shall use earned
Cause I
compensatory
assumed
time,
though that you
vacation,
talked to him
or
about all
leave
of
without
that.
pay for their absence.
Find it real quick.
So the only thing you're talking about changing is allowing to use sick pay.
Gosh, I wanna say it's Rick Rich.
It's paid time off though, when you make it. I mean, it
It
doesn't.
doesn't say pay time.
We use
It
sick time.
says employees not to report to work shall use earned compensatory time, vacation, or leave without a day. So that would, compensatory time would be comp time.
Well,
Vacation or leave without pay.
oh, gosh. I gotta do that.
But then isn't it up to an elected official if they say, if their employee
Yes,
says.
I'm not arguing that concept at all. What I'm saying is that it's compensatory time, vacation, or leave without pay. That's all I'm saying.
Or office day.
Robins.
Oh,
But
we use paid time off. We look at paid time off different. I know it's separated out, but because we have a policy on sick days for mental health days. So if you need a mental health day or whatever, that's
and I
a
clearly
sick day.
believe that the employee in certain circumstances has the right to make the determination
Yes,
as to their health and safety.
absolutely.
And, but that being said, the handbook says, this is what you have to do. You can use this, or do it without pay.
Well, that is also though, that issue is like when the employee determines. I think there's a second question here, which is when can and should it come from the Board of Supervisors that there is.
But it doesn't, it says, right, who choose not to report to work.
Yeah, so that's up to the employee. I guess Mark's additional question is, does there need to be any other procedure in place to determine that the inclement weather is bad enough that like the departments themselves shut down?
And I,
Just
at
wait.
this point, I don't believe the Board of Supervisors has jurisdiction over other elected officials. We have jurisdiction over the courthouse in the portions that we control, but not the portions that the court system.
All right, we off break now?
So-
What'd you figure out, Lee?
Well, it's in the handbook does say that they have to use comp time or vacation time or
And it's been those two
without,
already.
or leave without pay. But the employee decides,
Okay,
okay, whether or not they, A, want to use that, B, whether or not they come in Elizabeth's point
But I mean.
and Abby's, I don't think the board of supervisors even have jurisdiction over other elected officials.
I agree, we don't.
15.
So if
It's
they
my
did.
understanding that if you said, like I said, the courthouse is closed, but one of the other elected officials in here said, I'm coming.
Yeah.
You
There's
can't,
nothing we could do,
because you're not their boss. You guys are on the same.
right?
Now, the only question I'm gonna throw this back to Elizabeth's. Is that if supervisors determine that it's not safe. Of course, I guess it, 6-1 does the other, but if we think it should be closed because, to Mark's point, for public safety purposes. And one of the departments opens up, or the court system is here, which they were in this particular instance. And it's public safety be damned, because they're gonna.
Yeah, I just sit here thinking, if we would say the courthouse is closed, it's not safe. And Chris comes to work and falls down, breaks her leg, who's liable?
Well, you know,
Who's
damn well,
liable?
the court system isn't gonna cover the cost. Although we may be sued in the court system.
We are not the boss of them.
Just pick her up, throw her in a depth.
All right,
Could've done that last
so
week.
does anybody, in the sake of moving this discussion on, if there's a motion, we'll entertain it, otherwise we'll move on.
I think we need to wait and hear what the department heads have to say.
If it's something we haven't already discussed,
I mean, the handbook covers
covers it.
most of it.
I think the only thing that doesn't cover is sick time, which I'm open to in this one-off instance. I guess that's the difference I would make, that is distinguishing. Okay, so what does that mean? We're just gonna have
I think like it would be better.
good discussion, thank you. All right, we're gonna move on to number 3, official newspaper designations. And it looks like we have the Southeast Iowa Union would like to submit for consideration the Clarion Plainsman and the Ottumwa Courier. Elizabeth, we need your expertise because I know you have spent time researching this for us.
Yes, you're not gonna like the answer.
I know that already.
And we've already discussed the answer. I think you guys all know.
The answer
that-
is we have to entertain anybody who asked us.
Yep, yeah, basically up to 3
And we have 3.
newspapers that have been designated.
And so we used to have 2, so 3 is gonna cost us how much more, Abby?
Well, I mean, a question.
Is it 2?
Well, it's 2 because the
Oh.
Plains Clarion, easy for you to say, and the Union, or whatever the hell it is now, it's one paper. It's printed in one location. And as such, we should only be paying one price.
But I think they cover different areas.
They cover Jefferson County.
Okay, so I don't know, is this a discussion about how much money you should be paying or how many newspapers you have to
Well-
designate? Because really you have to designate up to 3.
Well,
And-
also, what is it that we are actually required by law to publish?
Well, that varies by department,
Your minutes.
but are you talking about
claims.
the Board of
Define
Supervisors
publish.
specifically? It has to be published in a newspaper. It's anachronistic. The code needs to
Well, wait,
change,
wait,
but
no,
unfortunately,
that word-
This is something we need to talk to our legislators about.
yes. But right now, unfortunately, if you have somebody requesting to be designated as an official newspaper and you don't have 3, you have to grant that request. Otherwise, they could say that you're not doing what you need to be doing under Iowa code.
Okay, I have a procedural question. This just says official newspaper designations. It doesn't say discuss and consider. So what does that mean for us today?
It always says that on the agenda.
And you have to designate in the January session is
So
what
there's
the
no-
code requires.
There's no we have to consider it because of the law.
Yeah, you have to designate up to 3 official newspapers.
I mean, it's kind of technically been an issue this month because you still have to be publishing all your minutes and everything.
Yeah.
And you haven't designated anybody yet.
Can I ask a clarification? You publish the supervisor minutes?
We have to.
Okay, because I don't publish Board of Health minutes.
The agenda you can post, but the minutes have to be published.
Is that just them?
I can look at, I
Because
was,
for 16 years, we've never
you've
published
never
minutes.
published your minutes.
Nobody ever said anything about that. I'm asking for clarification. They're accessible to the public upon request.
Yeah, I don't know if the Board of Health has
Well,
to
same thing
publish
with
their minutes.
conservation.
It seems like it would
We
have,
publish we post our agenda, we
Right.
used to publish it, but for the same reason the supervisors are struggling with having to have your agenda 3 weeks before the actual meeting, which publication issue. So if you could.
Well, agendas certainly for the Board of Supervisors don't need to be published, and I'm
Right.
not sure about minutes. I will say that, like, just my experience of city council being on like a subcommittee, like, we don't publish our minutes.
Yeah.
So I don't know if that would be kind of like synonymous with the question
no,
that you're
because they're
asking.
separate boards.
No, I guess you were talking about conservation too.
Yeah.
And so I was
yeah, I'm
speaking
asking
to
on
that.
behalf of Sean as
Board
well.
of Health,
Yeah, Board of Health.
I'll look.
All right,
Thank you.
so for the sake of this, the question is, should we ask whoever?
Circulation play into that.
It does, but it has to be up to 3 newspapers, and it's unfortunately also not priority order. It's like, and I went back and forth with the very kind gentleman at the AG's office that I spoke to, and this was his understanding as well. Because I was saying, look, the New York Times is circulating within the county, like, do we have to publish in there? And it's up to 3, and it has to be circulated within the county. And it doesn't say how many, it doesn't give like a specific number or percentage of individuals who have to receive that newspaper.
Okay.
So,
So I don't think we have any choice but approve these, and to your point, which is a good one, I'm guessing they're not the exact same content that's published in the Plainsman and the Unions, so therefore I would think we'd have to consider these
Well,
separately.
you publish the minutes, it's the same content.
It
No,
is,
but-
but this is more, it covers more of the Sigourney Peak area, the Plainsman does. I could bring you
Yeah.
papers.
Yeah, but
showing
I
that.
guess I don't give a flying rat's behind whether Sigourney has our minutes or not.
No, but people in rural Jefferson County,
Right, up in that
Right.
corner, but
Yeah.
it's still printed at the same time by the same company.
right? So yours is because they have the minutes, they just have to put them in 2 papers instead of. I don't know, you wanna call them and ask them?
So I want to say something.
Yes, Suzie?
We have 3 newspapers that wish to do this. But what is, like the letter said, is what has really changed with the union? It comes out on Thursdays. It's just when we have to print it. Is that right, Gabby?
Which Thursday was always the day that we put, even when they were published here in town.
Yes.
Thursday was typically the day that we put publications in paper.
So what's really changed? Just it'd be on our part when we have to put publications in to make that certain paper. Is
That's,
that right?
that is the problem.
Yeah.
The 4 and 20, we talked about that
Yeah,
at publication time. 4 days is not enough.
Yeah.
Well, and that's the point. The point was it was printed 5 days a week until recently. Now it's printed 2 days a week. Yes, they print on Thursday, or I mean, they have a newspaper on Thursday, yes. The question now becomes, when do we have to have that information in to get it into?
So that's the problem, when we have to put it in.
And that really hasn't changed. The Clarion was always a Thursday paper, and the Union was, we always published on Thursdays, even when they did do 5 days a week. Thursday was the Fairfield.
So you never
day.
sent the agenda up to the Clarion?
No,
Okay. So,
you'd have to double check with Shannon. I don't put a whole lot in the newspaper, just most of the election notices. But I wanna say Tuesday for the Union paper, and it's the week before for the Clarion's paper deadline.
it's always been a long week for the Clarion.
Thank you.
All right, I'm gonna make a motion that we designate all 3 papers as the law requires.
Will that cost us more, Dave?
I would imagine it would. But that's law.
That's a smart law.
That's why we need to get it changed.
I bet we're lobbied by the newspapers, what do you bet?
Like the 1800s.
I actually,
It hasn't changed since like 1980
I
or
did
something.
contact our ISAC lobbyist about this topic and they work on it all the time, but the newspapers have a strong lobby. I guess. All right, is there any
So
second?
what's? Yeah, conversation, I guess, for a different time. I just want to know what specific we have to publish.
We second it, we can have discussion.
Bathroom breaks.
Do we need a break?
No.
No, we're good. All right.
We're gonna move ahead if we don't have a second, so.
Well, but Abby said, or Abby, I'm sorry, Elizabeth said we have to make the decision.
In the January session.
I know,
Huh, so we have 11 months.
okay,
Hilarious.
we're gonna follow procedure, we need a second, then we need to discuss.
Second.
All right, yeah, discuss.
No, I just,
So for our office, we need an official paper to publish all of the election notices. I know that specifically because that's my area. There's a requirement every other year for our office, I believe, to do equalization notices, which includes publishing, that's my understanding.
and
The
publish
claims.
the notices for public hearings.
Even for you guys. And the claims get published. The claims listing once a month. Your minutes. I know your office has.
So yeah, we have publication, we're required by law to give notice for certain hearings if we can't find the individual. I mean, I'm sure that you have to publish if you're requesting maybe public bids to.
I would assume the tax sale
Mhm.
listing has to have a.
I'm sure the treasurer.
official-
Mhm.
So the issue is that, and there's nothing Elizabeth can do about this, I get her any of us. The issue is, it goes back to what Dwayne and I were talking about earlier about the rock.
Mhm.
Okay, I have to pay whatever the hell it is they decide they want to charge for,
We need to
regardless of
cut
how
back here.
reasonable it is. And the amount of money that we're paying, because we're required to do this. And then they can say, well, you've got this 2 lines that you can't even see without a microscope, and it's $600.
Here's what I'd propose. So I'll contact our legislators about this topic, because it is one thing that maybe they would actually support for us.
One would hope so.
You would think. You know, I'm not opposed to letting the public know what in the world is going on.
No, we know that.
You know, that's-
We're just opposed to spending your money on publishing in your papers.
Yeah, so, all right, so we got a motion in a second, right?
All right, we're gonna vote on this? All in favor?
Can I abstain?
No, you can do whatever you want, Woody.
And I'm gonna, I want this in the minutes. Okay? Under advice of counsel. I vote yay.
I'll say,
it's-
I'm voting yes because it's a law and we have to do that.
So you don't have to do anything.
Susie?
Abstain.
Steen. Okay, moving on.
Can I just make one, I know you were concerned about publishing things that we didn't need to publish, and for our office, sample ballots used to be required to be published, and it's not anymore, so we don't do that. We have a listing of the candidates because that's required, but we don't have to put the sample ballots in paper anymore, so we don't.
And I appreciate that. It's not the publishing, it's the fact that it's just like with our electric company. We don't have a choice. We have to pay their bill and they do whatever the blazes they want to do. Same thing with the newspaper, potentially now the same thing with a rock. And yet we got the legislature saying, "Hey, you guys have got to cut.
Oh, I know, that's why we all need to contact them, and this is one thing they could actually maybe do for us. Okay, discuss and consider cyber insurance. Welcome back, Joe.
Are you excited to have me back for this
And
topic?
before we go to last week's topic, before we forget, we're gonna ask you a new topic, so we'll
I
end up.
did send an email, or
Okay.
I did, in a conversation with Jill. And I don't know if somebody's on from the sheriff's office or not, but.
So in our budget meeting with the sheriff, we learned,
Right, that at least the way I understood it, I'm not speaking for the other two, the way I understood it, that the inference from the insurance company was that we needed to upgrade our camera system for more storage for liability issues. That so that we could keep more for a longer period of time. And consequently, the cost of that was about $200,000 to do that upgrade. Which frankly, my question is, well, it's twofold. One, at this point, I don't know that we've got the $200,000 to do the upgrade.
Sure.
Two, is the inference that somehow or another, our coverage would be affected if we don't do that. In other words, would the insurance company say, you know, if, I don't know, this poor analogy, if I have 3 speeding tickets, then my insurance company is going to say, we're going to drop you like a lead balloon. Is this what the insurance company is saying, is if you don't spend this, we're going to do this?
I have a hard time believing that. To be honest, I'm unfamiliar with the recommendation. My assumption is that ICAP telling them that they should do that so they can keep video evidence longer. So if, you know, the county's brought into suit for a law enforcement liability claim, you know, dating back several years, that we'd be able to access that. That's one, Lee, that I'll have to reach out to ICAP to get clarification on that recommendation. I saw your email, but I was just unfamiliar with what the question was. I have good clarity now, so I can circle back on that. My initial response is they're not going to drop members from ICAP as a result of not doing a $200,000 technology upgrade. But I will get clarification on that and report back when ready.
I appreciate it. I apologize for not being very clear, in part because frankly, I'm not very clear myself about it, but it just appeared to me that we were being, it was emphasized that we needed to make that upgrade at a huge expense, and anyway.
That one to me is, I'll go back to ICAP and ask them exactly what they're asking there. I think asking the county to make that level of upgrade, I would think if that's a required action, that would typically flow through our office to let us know, like, hey, this is a big deal. This needs to be addressed. And I have not heard anything directly from ICAP on it. So one way or the other, I'll get clarification.
okay.
Thank you.
So let's move
Joe.
on.
Joe,
Yes.
Bart Richmond.
Hey, Bart.
Sheriff. How you doing?
Good. Yourself?
We meet yearly with Brian Courtney.
Yep.
The risk specialist. Do you know him?
Yes. Yep.
Okay. For 2 years, he's been pushing this. Obviously, I didn't have it in the budget, and that's why I'm asking now. But he's the one that it's out of all the risks that he goes through with us on policy and everything else. That's the one thing he points out for 2 years in a row.
Bart, how far back is Brian recommending that video evidence be stored?
how far back? I think he's recommended 1 year.
Okay, and the cost
And,
for that is 200,000.
part of that is upgrading what we currently have, and then part of it is, yes, the cloud service.
Okay. Has he given you any indication? I know oftentimes when they do those loss control meetings, they'll give you like a statement of action taken, report, and you fill out if you're complying or if you're
Right.
take action.
And we've always submitted it that it's a budgetary problem.
Okay.
And we cannot do it. Yes, we've returned those that way.
Okay. So the way that this works in practice is they're making a recommendation. I agree with the recommendation that keeping, video evidence back that far does best protect the county. And at the same time, I recognize that that's a huge budgetary item to approve. I have not gotten any indication from ICAP that they would drop a member as a result of not implementing, or that coverage would be affected in any way. So that is it's a county decision to make if you approve that expenditure. But what I want to confirm before you make a decision on that one way or the other is if coverage would be affected or if membership would be impacted if you decide to not take action again this year. I think I know the answer to that, but I just want to get that clarity before you guys approve or do not approve that. So
None of that was indicated to us that would happen. Basically, yes, that's his recommendation, his only recommendation for what we're doing here.
yeah.
And this year he wanted it was almost a push to make sure I asked for it.
Sure.
Hey Bart, how far back can we go now, or whatever the terminology is?
2 to 3 at most.
10 to 14
Two-
days.
10 to 14 days, I'm told. And
Okay,
it's all internal. It's equipment we have to maintain and store and server and that type of stuff.
I'm assuming though, if there is an incident that has a heightened, if there's something that we know, hey, this could be under scrutiny, or there is a significant event that can be stored separately, correct? This is just purely to have all footage at all times stored back to a year.
If we know about it in time.
If something that we think, yes, we can pull from, but obviously if somebody was here and a month later, they're saying something happened, we've lost that footage.
Yep. Yep, totally understand.
All right. All righty, thank you.
Thank you.
Okay,
thanks
so
Bart.
going on to discuss and consider cyber insurance, so dated Tuesday, January 23rd, we got a new email from Joe, and I'm just gonna read the content here that has changed. ICAP could insure us, it'd be less coverage. It'd be approximately $3,900. And the aggregate limit is 250,000, which is less than $1 million with cowbell, but the premium we also pay is much less at 3,900 versus 15,000.
So if I could just quick Cliff Notes version is last year, we made a recommendation that the county increase their cyber coverage up to $1 million for first party coverage, and doing that with a monoline comprehensive cyber policy outside of ICAP. We chose to move forward with that, or is voted and approved. And so last year, Cowbell was our cyber insurer. When we did that, we removed the coverage from ICAP. So last year you saved on your contributions with ICAP, that was reduced. We bought a monoline policy with Cowbell. And so this year, when there wasn't a vote to approve the renewal, while I don't think 250,000 is necessarily sufficient for the county, or I would always recommend that you carry at least $1 million. What I fear is that the county fully self-insures for cyber. I'd rather have you elect back into the coverage with ICAP than carry nothing at all. And so based on how last week went, this would be my proposed alternative. Again, if you ultimately decide to not have cyber coverage of any kind and not pay any premiums, that's fine. I just want to present all options to you. I think it's high risk for the county to not have anything. And so the alternative would be a $250,000 policy at $3,900 annually, and it would be insured within the ICAP package.
Can I review what I think I remember you saying last week, and please correct me if I'm wrong?
Yep.
So the premium for cowbell is 50,000, but then later on the discussion, there was something about ICAP would cover the first 40,000 of that?
That's a deductible buyback program that they offered. So that's if you had your coverage elsewhere, they would pay the deductible up to 50,000 after the first 10. ICAP requires your cyber deductible to always be at least 10,000. And so if we put the coverage with ICAP, you'd have a $10,000 deductible, then they would pay the next 250,000 for first or third party losses. And then anything above and beyond that, you'd obviously be self-insuring beyond that point with this setup.
Is that per occurrence, including the 250?
Correct.
So I could have 5 attacks?
Yep.
For the $3,900 and you would cover the 250,000 each time?
The only limit to that is they put a cap on if there's an event that impacts multiple members. They put a $2 million aggregate on all ICAP membership. So if there's one cyber breach event that impacts Jefferson County, Henry County, Clayton County, Jones County, and all of them, you know, let's say all 99 counties are impacted above and beyond 250, ICAP's aggregate is going to be 2 million. So they would essentially split the coverage among all 99 counties, and then you'd self-insure above and beyond that. Very low likelihood of that event taking place, but there is that aggregate limit with ICAP. And I apologize. I just want to be totally transparent. I have to take my daughter to the doctor, so I have to leave here in about 5 minutes. So just
Okay.
for clarity.
All right, do you have enough information?
So it's $10,000 deductible, right?
Correct.
We pay the first 10, basically.
That's correct.
Okay, which we would on the other one as well. We pay the first 10. Because they picked up the 40, would pick up the 40, the difference.
So you want to make a motion?
Not particularly.
Will you make a motion?
So I move that we reinsure with ICAP for $3,900.
I second that motion.
Any more discussion? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay, thanks, Joe.
Thank you all. I appreciate it.
Discuss and consider abatement of property taxes. Okay, Be it resolved.
Yes, that's just small.
property taxes which would normally be assessed against the following. Jessica Nicole Luke, and it's, looks
So
like
who's-
the total's $284.
So who's making the request?
Is this Mark, Abby?
Mhm.
That's who brought it to me.
Who?
Jessica's making the request.
Okay.
Can you, fill us in, Mark?
Oh, wait a minute. Here's,
Oh,
so is this,
So it's 2 years worth. She files a credit application through my office. She hasn't the last 2 years. She had since 2011, so she missed the last 2 years of filing for that credit, which would take her taxes down to zero. She did fill one out for this year, but she has asked for the last 2 years, which totals to $284 to be abated.
okay, I get it now.
and she definitely meets
Yeah.
I don't know what the correct term is, low income.
She has met the criteria every year that she has filed an application since 2011. She just did not file one last year or the year before.
All right,
Mark, my question is, why didn't she do it the last 2 years?
That's a great question. I called and left a message asking her to be present at the meeting to explain that.
I don't think
Was
she's
that
here.
her?
Huh?
Was that her that was here for a while?
No, that was Christy Welsh.
Oh, okay, okay. So,
I guess I don't disagree with the fact that she's eligible. Why didn't she do it?
My personal opinion, if it's okay, would be that this could potentially be a Pandora's box.
meaning what?
Meaning you could have every Tom, Dick, and Harry that didn't come into my office and fill out an application
Yeah.
coming in and saying, hey, I didn't do it back in 2015.
Right.
You know, because it is the individual's responsibility to do that.
You can lead a horse to water.
Famous last words of my mom, Mark. She used to
Okay.
use that all the time.
anybody's gonna make a motion, otherwise we'll move on.
You know, Mark's point is well taken as far as I'm concerned.
And he's made that point consistently through the years.
Yeah.
Well, I would like to have seen her come here and sit and just explain to us.
And that's always a possibility, I suppose, that she can come back, but
It's,
your question is well taken and his point is well taken. If she's done it every year, it's not like, now, if there was a health issue and she couldn't make it or something,
But tell us.
Yeah.
Come and tell us.
or call Mark, pick up the phone and call Mark.
yeah, he reached out to him. So at this
Okay.
point, I think we just table it.
Hearing no motion, we're just gonna move on. Number 6, discuss and consider reappointing Glenn Ham and Craig Fulton to the Historical Preservation Commission.
So,
Second that motion.
Any discussion? All in favor?
all right.
Aye.
All right, discuss and consider health insurance. Usually Denise is here.
I called her because I had some questions on the bottom line.
I'll let you fill this in.
And so the 1,261,958, we would add and talking to Shannon, we've got about 180,000 that we budgeted for self-fund. So that would be between that bottom number and that would be our total cost. Our premium increase for this for 24-25 renewal would be 3.91%. And she will schedule once we approve the premium increase, and that's the only increase. There's nothing from IGHCP or EBS that's increasing. This is just strictly the Blue Cross insurance premium increase of 3.91%.
You know, I was looking through the data on ISAC because they have data on like comparisons. And we're the only county that offers 3 options still. I mean, some of them do offer like the or the married plus children or, different versions.
That
And
was a TV series. Married
she
with
keeps,
Children.
she keeps telling, well, single plus children, whatever the term is. She keeps telling us they don't do that.
Yeah.
But we don't have to go there right now, but.
But that would, you could drop down at some point, we decide, well, we're just gonna do a $500 deductible.
Which we've talked about.
But that doesn't change
Right.
Wellmark's premium increase.
Correct. So this total, the annual cost is 1.2 million, $1,261,958 plus 180,000 for
Well,
insured, right?
Whatever, Shannon said we were actually doing,
Better.
pretty good on the self-fund. I don't know exactly what those numbers look like, but yeah, this is Wellmark's premium, 1,261,958. That's approximately, $47,000 increase.
And it's 3.91%.
Right.
All right,
Because it was 1,214,443 last year. If my math is right, it would be $47,500.
that's Susie.
Right? I don't know.
Okay.
I'm sorry, what?
Oh, I just asked Susie if she had any thoughts. I know we're kind of stuck in this. It takes a major thing to get out of a trust like
There
this.
should be a regular form besides this. There's something.
That's all I have.
That's all I have.
Yeah.
Okay. All of us to see, because I know it came in an email we got, all was got. Anyway, I'll find it or print it out or something, because it's for you to sign, the chair.
Well, we need a motion first.
Yeah, I'll make a motion, we accept the 3.91% increase.
Second that motion.
We have a motion and a second. Any more discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, make committee reports.
Oh, wow.
Okay, so I had Grove Fairfield last week, which, I think everybody's heard. Former Mayor Malloy is now their executive director, and they have I don't know what her title is. The person that's working with him. And they just had mostly after COVID, we used to go in person, and after COVID, we're on Zoom, and so the ad hocs get on there and do our report. So I did hear Terry do the highlights of her presentation. Friday, I had a wonderful experience with fourth graders who came from the after-school program. There were two groups. Of course, seeing the courtroom was a highlight. So I called Dr. Chauncey to see if he'd like to go let him know what goes on there, and he was more than happy to. So he called Judge McAvan, and we had so much fun. So Judge McAvan was the judge, and we tried Goldilocks to see if she was guilty of breaking and entering. And everybody just got into their roles. The kids took different roles, and they did a really good job. And Goldilocks was really imaginative because they put her up on the stand, for breaking it. She said, well, I found a key, and I could let myself, anyway. I guess we never did.
What was the verdict?
I'm thinking, I don't remember a verdict, but you got to realize it was a little bit
I
chaotic.
see the movie
Everybody
rights
was
for
really
this.
intrigued with the gavel, which he says he's never used. So apparently that's a TV thing for the judges to use gavels. And anyway, it was a real good experience. And then the second group hadn't had time to go anywhere else, so I made sure they went to the treasurer and the recorder's office first, then they went upstairs, and the auditor's office did not feel left out that they didn't go there because I asked them. And did you have, I'm just trying to move on here.
Yeah.
Did you have any?
I had I had Area 15 regional planning, and they designated an official newspaper too, but they only had to designate one. I just couldn't resist that.
Must be the theme.
Anyway, we did discuss, we were provided the Regional Housing Trust Fund that these still sits on, and I thought it was important, at least from my perspective, Jefferson County, we had 8 homes assisted, 13 people for a total of 69,000 and some change. Included HVAC 4 and windows and siding. The board approved they approved a $260,000 application from CBC Financial of Fairfield to construct 30 new apartments in Ottumwa. And the initial loan distribution of $130,000 was made at the time of groundbreaking in June of 23. The apartments are scheduled to be available in July of 24, and the remaining 130,000 will be distributed upon certificate of occupancy. And then we also helped with 2 home buyers for down payments of $17,800 combined. So I thought that was important. CERD, which is South Iowa Response Group, or HAZMAT. There is a couple of things. There's going to be a training that Brett's probably going to attend about battery disposal, and more specifically lithium batteries. There is a big problem with lithium batteries and fire, and with the EVs and stuff going on. And I'm sure Susie has probably been involved in this. They don't want them disposed of in the landfills. So, and even after they're disposed of and buried, they can cause fires.
So how are you supposed to do?
Well, it says they're going to talk about asking the state for funding. The county does not have money for this. They were talking about building a recycling center for these batteries. But the key to this, from what was explained to us in the meeting, that it's the largest percentage of cause, I'm not saying that right, of all the fires that take place in a landfill, it's the largest percentage is due to the lithium battery disposals.
Very dangerous to children.
I'm sorry, what?
Very dangerous to children.
Right, and this is not just EVs, this is, you get the batteries like I have for my drill and stuff, those are lithium batteries. So that was, I thought was.
I don't think the public is really aware of that. You just throw the battery away.
Right.
They throw it, take it to landfill.
I also had 1015 Transit, and we are looking to become, or to, through our attorney, we're applying for a 501c3. One of the reasons for that, or the only reason for that, is that allows us to be able to solicit donations for the vet rides that we provide. So we are, through this month, or through December of 23, we have provided $81,000 worth of rides to vets, all total. Jefferson County is 10,000, Wapello was 31,000. So it's a widely used service. We find out if any of the riders happen to have in particular Medicaid insurance or whatever, then we bill Medicaid for that, and they will reimburse us. So Bob Breckenridge is helping us get the 501c3 so that we can solicit donations. And then on RPA, Regional Planning Affiliate, the thing that I noticed most is all the work that Dwayne is doing, and he's on the TAC committee. But we've got for what would be it's programmed year of 2024, we've got bridge replacement, which would be Libertyville Road. We're looking at a bridge rehabilitation on Carnation Boulevard in 27, another bridge replacement on W30 in 27, HMA resurfacing on longitudinal subdrains on H43 at C, I believe that's 2025. Some patching, and I think that caught my eye on this one, Dwayne, was guardrails. So I'm assuming we're using federal dollars in that, yeah. And a new bridge right away on Iowa 78 and some resurfacing. So those are 2026 projects.
Nothing. We just did a budget.
Okay, we're gonna move on to allow claims and approve reports. I'm gonna make a motion. We approve $52,508.11.
I completely messed up. I apologize.
52,800. 52,508.11. Is there a second
Second,
discussion?
I think that we have certainly stopped spending a lot of money.
Yeah.
That's
That's a
great.
good thing. All in favor, and we appreciate that.
Aye.
Aye. All right. Do we have a motion to adjourn this, and then we're gonna take a break, and then we'll do a budget work session?
Oh, yes, I need to do that.
Second, all in favor, aye. We are adjourned. Thanks, everybody.